So we're going to show you the fragments extracts from two apps, augmented reality apps. So Alice Dali era. So this is music I composed for illustration from Salvador Dali for Alice's Adventures in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. So Matt Carver, so he's CEO of Wonderland and professor of computer science at Trinity College Dublin and a master course of director of master courses related to Synesthesia. And so then I will show you extracts as well from Synesthesia Gallery Augmented Reality. It's a game, it's again outdoors game, and the Synesthesia Gallery was a collaboration of 6 artists, and as well as the scientific episode from Jamie Ward and the Face of Kandinsky by James Wallington. So you will see this on the slides, so it will help you with the program. So Alice Dali here. Thank you.
Alice was considering whether the pleasure of making a daisy chain would be worth the trouble of getting up and picking the daisies, when suddenly a white rabbit with pink eyes ran close by her. There was nothing so very remarkable in that, nor did Alice think it so very much out of the way to hear the rabbit say to itself, oh dear, I shall be late." When she thought it over afterwards, it occurred to her that she ought to have wondered at this, but at the time it all seemed quite natural. But when the rabbit actually took a waistcoat, a watch out of its waistcoat pocket and looked at it, and then hurried on, Alice started to her feet, for it flashed across her mind that she had never before seen a rabbit with either a waistcoat pocket or a watch to take out of it, and burning with curiosity, she ran across the field after it, and fortunately was just in time to see it pop down a large rabbit hole under the hedge. In another moment, down went Alice after it, never once considering how in the world she was to get out again. Just then her head struck against the roof of the hall. In fact, she was now more than 9 feet high, and she at once took up the little golden key and hurried off to the garden door. Poor Alice! It was as much as she could do, lying down on one side, to look through into the garden with one eye. But to get through was more hopeless than ever. She sat down and began to cry again. "You ought to be ashamed of yourself," said Alice. "A great girl like you," she might as well say this, "to go on crying in this way. Stop this moment, I tell you." But she went on all the same, shedding gallons of tears, until there was a large pool all around her, about 4 inches deep and reaching half down the hall. "What's that in the window?" "Sure, it's an arm, Your Honor." He pronounced it arm. "An arm, you goose! Whoever saw one that size? Why, it fills the whole window." "Sure it does, Your Honor, but it's an arm for all of that." "Well, it's got no business there at any rate. Go and take it away." There was a long silence after this, and Alice could only hear whispers now and then, such as, "Sure, I don't like it, Your Honor, at all. Do as I tell you, you coward." and she lost to spread out her hand again and made another snatch in the air. This time there were two little shrieks and more sounds of broken glass. What a number of cucumber frames there must be, thought Alice. I wonder what they'll do next. As for pulling me out of the window, I only wish they could. I'm sure I don't want to stay in here any longer. There was a table set out under a tree in the front of the house, and the March Hare and the Hatter were having tea at it. A dormouse was sitting between them, fast asleep, and the other two were using it as a cushion, resting their elbows on it and talking over its head. Very uncomfortable for the dormouse, thought Alice. Only as it's asleep, I suppose it doesn't mind. The table was a large one, but the three were all crowded together at one corner of the room. No room, they cried out when they saw Alice coming. There's plenty of room, said Alice indignantly, and she sat down in a large armchair at one end of the table. If you knew time as well as I do, said the Hatter, you wouldn't talk about wasting it. It's him. I don't know what you mean, said Alice. Of course you don't, the Hatter said, tossing his head contemptuously. I dare say you never even spoke to time. Perhaps not, Alice cautiously replied, but I know I have to beat time when I learn music. Ah, that accounts for it, said the Hatter. He won't stand a beating. Now, if you only kept on good terms with him, he'd do almost anything you liked with the clock. For instance, suppose it were 9 o'clock in the morning, just in time to begin lessons. You'll only have to whisper a hint to time, and round goes the clock in a twinkling. 1:30, time for dinner. Twinkle, twinkle, little bat, how I wonder what you're at. Up above the world you fly, like a tea tray in the sky. The Queen left off, quite out of breath, and said to Alice, "Have you seen the mock turtle yet?" "No," said Alice, "I don't even know what a mock turtle is." "It's the thing that mock turtle soup is made from," said the Queen. "Once," said the mock turtle at last with a deep sigh, "I was a real turtle." These words were followed by a very long silence, broken only by an occasional exclamation of "ha ha" from the griffin and the constant heavy sobbing of the mock turtle. Alice was very nearly getting up and saying, "Thank you, sir, for your interesting story," but she could not help thinking there must be more to come, so she sat still and said nothing. "When we were little," the mock turtle went on at last, more calmly, though still sobbing a little now and then, "we went to school in the sea. The master was an old turtle. We used to call him Tortoise." "Why did you call him Tortoise if he wasn't one?" Alice asked. "We called him Tortoise because he taught us," said the mock turtle angrily. "Really, you are very dull." "You ought to be ashamed of yourself by asking such a simple question," added the griffin. And then they both sat silent and looked at poor Alice, who felt ready to sink into the earth. At last the griffin said to the mock turtle, Drive on, old fellow, don't be all day about it.
Thank you very much. It was just 5 episodes, so there's in the app Augmented Reality there's 12 chapters covered. Okay, so I'm going to proceed with the next program. It's from Synesthesia Gallery Augmented Reality app, and it was a beautiful collaboration we did in 2021 during the pandemic, actually, with for British Neuroscience Association Festival. So with Jamie Ward and Timothy Layden painted the musical narrative and music analysis I produced to show the narrative of the story, which is associated with B minor sonata list. So then Maura McDonald, she did animation. So what you're going to see, it will be just only 3 minutes animation, introducing the characters of the story. And then I proceed playing the whole music composition. It's actually 35 minutes. I'm not going to do this, so I'm going to play extract around 10 minutes. So your imagination after 3 minutes video should pick up the episodes and characters of music. So I briefly tell you the structure of the sonata. So Liszt B minor sonata associated with a Faust story, and if you know the Goethe concept of God and evil was kind of dualistic, so that it's a rejected angel, you know, Mephistopheles. So, and in sonata Liszt captured the characters Mephistopheles and scholar who wants to gain the knowledge of the world, and of course he sells his soul to the devil, to Mephistopheles, and seduction of the eternal feminine, Greta in some stories, Margarita in another stories. So it's a classical sonata form when the introduction is active theme, and then it would be lyrical theme belonging to female character, then development where the fugue in this sonata, and then recapitulation where the themes come back with the main in the main key. But so I'm going to stop. I'm not going to go through complete drama. But I hope your imagination will compensate. So Timothy painted on those characters and themes. So you will see symbolic representation of the whole world as a Pandora box, you know, with Mephistopheles' temptations to human nature, and the yes, and the church is nothing religious. It's just a symbol of people coming to life, baptizement, and they go, you know, ritual of death. So it's a symbolic content. So I hope we have a slide now. And yes, so the cards. We actually have to put the cards. This is instructions to play augmented reality game. So one of the episodes is Liszt B minor sonata. So Synesthesia Gallery, there was 6 artists synesthetes who painted classical music. So different episodes. So Timothy Layden did B minor sonata, for example. Then Carl Steen did Schumann Quintet, Opus 44. Then Maria José de Cordoba, her image was matched with composition landscape, John Cage. Ninghui Xiong painted Ballade, Chopin. Jury Hagen, I composed music on her artwork. And James Vanderda did episode on Taste of Kandinsky, and Jamie Ward did a scientific talk. So it's 15 episodes in the gallery, and it takes around 20 minutes to go in the park and to find all these music art encounters, you know, in augmented reality. So you saw that in the exhibition it was actually a printed canvas, you know, Timothy Layden painting. So Maura McDonald, she produced visuals, animation, you know, what I was talking earlier. Thank you. Thank you.